All right, week 5 college football breakdown here. Nice Big 12 matchup in Fort Worth to start the day. We got Oklahoma coming off that disappointing loss to Kansas State, traveling to play a really good TCU offense. Seeing this total pretty high at 68.5, come down a little bit from 69, and seeing the Sooners on the road still as 6.5-point favorites. This is one of those games. It's going to be high possession, high variance game. If you have a good feel on the side, go for it. This is just not the type of game, though, that I would really want to get involved with from a side perspective. I'm not saying you can't, but it's just kind of how I approach games. This game's going over the total. For this total to be under 70, in my opinion, is just blatantly incorrect. I played the TCU over when they played SMU last week as my best bet. This TCU offense is really good. They can create explosive plays in a multitude of ways. Their running back, Kendry Miller, over 7 yards per carry throughout his career. Think about that. Over 7 yards per carry throughout multiple years playing in the Big 12. Impressive there. They've got guys like Quentin Johnson on the outside that create such a mismatch with opposing secondaries. They're good at tight end. They're deep at wide receiver. They're dependable at key spots along their offensive line. And I like what they got at quarterback at Max Duggan. I mean, he struggled a little bit early in his career, but he's a fourth-year starter at this point. He's mobile. He's been over 9 yards per attempt each of the past 2 seasons, and he's well over 10 yards per attempt this year. I think Sonny Dykes inherited a great set of offensive talent, and I think they're going to be ready to go for this game. We saw Oklahoma's defense kind of get had last week when they played Kansas State. I mean, obviously allowed 41 points at home, which is pretty inexcusable. They showed me some things in their pass rush when they were playing Kent State and UTEP and even Nebraska, but we did see them get beat up front last week against Kansas State. I think this is another matchup. Like I said, I think TCU is dependable at some key spots along their offensive line at tackle, at center. Yes, they had a little bit by SMU, but I think SMU is a better pass rushing team than Oklahoma. And I think TCU will be fine along their offensive line. The one area that I think Oklahoma still has yet to be exposed in is their secondary. Those corners, I don't trust those corners in this matchup. I think TCU has better offensive talent than Oklahoma does have defensively. With all that said, I think Oklahoma's got a top 5 offense in the country. I mean, think about this. They put up 34 points last week against a top 10 defense in the country in Kansas State, 550 total yards. I feel like they left a lot of plays on the field, too. We saw what they did against Nebraska, and quite honestly, if they wanted to score 80 points in that game, they could have. This is a well-oiled machine offensively. Dillon Gabriel, 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, over 9 yards per attempt as well. He's got Marvin Mims. Drake Stoops is a pretty good player. They've got playmakers on the outside. And the one thing about this Oklahoma offense that I've been surprised about is Eric Gray at running back has done a really good job. We knew he was a threat as a receiver, but he's really run the ball. Even last week against Kansas State, who, like I said, top 10 defense in the country, they were able to run the ball pretty well last week. So this is a TCU defense that coming into the year, I circled. This is going to be an over team because as much as I love their offense, they are shaky defensively. Outside of their number one corner, bad secondary. They have fared against the run pretty well so far this year, but they're not going to be able to make much of an impact on Gabriel. I just don't like their front four right now. First-year coaching staff, you kind of inherit from a roster standpoint what you inherit. I think Joe Gillespie for TCU is a good coach. He just doesn't have very good players right now. This is a well-oiled machine in Oklahoma's offense. Jeff Lebby's system is maniacally fast. It's worked for a long time. I think, quite frankly, this is offensive talent galore on both sides of the ball. The pace is there. Quarterback experience / effectiveness is there. And I think each of these defenses, kind of as I explained, have some holes that I think could get exposed pretty consistently in this matchup. So I wouldn't really focus on this game from a side perspective. I think the better way to play it is expect both these offenses to be able to move the ball consistently and create some chunk plays. I'm playing this thing over 69. Before we get out of here, guys, I know you've been staring at the shirt the whole time. If you're wondering how you can look as cool and sexy as me, let me tell you, proud90.com, unique but very comfortable polos as well. They got t-shirts, hoodies, quarter zips, recently added a ladies line. Proud 90's got all your golf apparel needs. Browse their selection. If you see anything you like at checkout, use code FORDHAM. It's going to get you 15% off your entire order. Check the description for more information.